The Battle of Teutoburg Forest. Say that name to a Roman, even centuries later, you would see a shadow cross their face. This was more than a battle. It was a nightmare. Imagine the year. It is 9 AD, mighty Rome, the superpower of its day. Its legions, those famous soldiers, were the best. They seemed unbeatable. No one could stand against them for long. But deep in the dark, damp forests of Germania, a storm was brewing. A trap was being meticulously prepared. This battle, this ambush, would shake the Roman Empire to its very foundations. It was a disaster of unimaginable scale. A true horror story for the Emperor Augustus, the architect of this catastrophe, a man named Arminius. Who was this Arminius? He was a Germanic prince. He came from the Carusi tribe, a people Rome considered barbarians. But Arminius was different. As a young boy, he had been taken by the Romans. He was a noble hostage, yes, but he was also a student in the grand school of Roman power. He grew up within the heart of the empire. He saw Rome's might up close. He learned its language. He understood its customs. He lived and breathed the Roman world, or so it seemed. Arminius was not merely an observer of Roman life. He was an active participant. He became a Roman citizen, a rare honor. He even attained the rank of equestrian. Think of it like a knight. This was a significant position for someone not born Roman. He served faithfully in the Roman army. He fought under Roman banners. He learned Roman military tactics from the inside out. He understood their formations. He knew their discipline. He saw their strengths. And, crucially, he saw their weaknesses. This intimate knowledge would later become his most deadly weapon against them. Despite his Roman honors and his Roman upbringing, Arminius was, at his core, a German. He saw what Roman rule was doing to his people. The Roman governor in Germania was Publius Quinctilius Varus. Varus was a bureaucrat, perhaps a little arrogant. He was imposing new taxes. He was changing ancient Germanic laws. The tribes, fierce and independent, grew restless. They felt the heavy hand of Rome. They felt oppressed. Arminius saw this. He witnessed their anger. Perhaps he felt a pull towards his own blood, his own kin. The quiet whispers of rebellion began to circulate. The calm before a terrible, bloody storm. Arminius made a choice, a monumental choice. He decided to betray Rome. Think about that, betraying the most powerful empire on earth. It was a decision fraught with peril. He had to be incredibly careful. One wrong word, one suspicious glance, and his plan would unravel. His life would be forfeit. He began to plot in the deepest secrecy. He started reaching out to other Germanic chieftains. He worked to unite them, to forge an alliance against their common oppressor Rome. This was no easy task. These tribes often fought amongst themselves, but Arminius had a vision. A key part of his plan was his relationship with Varus. Arminius was close to the Roman governor, very close. Varus trusted him implicitly. He saw Arminius as a loyal subordinate, a valuable bridge between Roman authority and the Germanic tribes. Arminius cultivated this image with great skill. He played the part of the faithful ally flawlessly. He dined with Varus. He offered him counsel. He was a constant reassuring presence in the Roman governor's inner circle. All the while he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was carefully lulling Varus into a state of false security, a dangerous complacency. To spring his trap, Arminius needed the Roman legions to move. He needed them to march into a place of his choosing, a place where their numbers and discipline would count for little. So he concocted a story, a clever lie. He reported a minor rebellion, a small uprising in a remote part of Germania, far from the established Roman roads and forts. He insisted it needed to be dealt with swiftly and decisively. And he, Arminius, offered to guide the Roman legions to the trouble spot. Varus, overconfident and unsuspecting, believed him. He saw no reason to doubt his trusted Germanic friend, but there were warnings. Not everyone was fooled by Arminius's charm. A loyal Germanic noble named Segestes harbored deep suspicions. Segestes was actually Arminius's father-in-law, but he despised him. He knew Arminius was plotting something terrible. He went to Varus. He laid out the conspiracy. He warned him of the impending betrayal. He even offered to have Arminius and the other plotters arrested immediately. But Varus tragically dismissed these warnings. He believed Segestes was simply jealous. He chose to trust the charismatic Arminius. This fateful decision would seal the doom of 3 Roman legions, an error of judgment with catastrophic consequences. So, Varus gathered his legions, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, thousands upon thousands of heavily armed Roman soldiers, accompanied by auxiliary troops and camp followers. A massive column. They marched away from the safety of their summer encampment. They left the familiar, well-maintained Roman roads. They followed Arminius. They plunged deep into the dense, dark Teutoburg Forest. The weather, as if conspiring with the Germans, turned foul. Heavy, relentless rain began to fall. The ground turned into a quagmire. The long column of Roman soldiers stretched for miles, becoming disorganized. They were far from home, out of their element, terribly vulnerable. Then, it happened. Suddenly, the seemingly empty forest erupted. Germanic warriors, screaming their battle cries, attacked from all sides. They had been hidden by the thick trees, the dense undergrowth, and the dreadful weather. The Romans were caught completely by surprise. They were strung out along a narrow, muddy track. They could not form their famous battle lines. Their centuries-old discipline, their greatest strength, began to crack under the pressure. Javelins, spears, and arrows rained down upon them from the shadowy woods. It was chaos, pure, unadulterated, terrifying chaos. The ambush was perfectly executed. For 3 agonizing days, the Romans fought for their lives. They were surrounded. They were outnumbered, or at least outmaneuvered. Each night they tried to build a fortified camp, a small measure of security. But the Germanic attacks were relentless. They gave the Romans no rest. The terrain itself was an enemy. The sucking mud, the tangled roots, the claustrophobic trees. The Romans were not equipped for this kind of guerrilla warfare. Their heavy armor became a burden. Their supply train carrying food and equipment was quickly captured or destroyed. Food ran low, water was scarce, hope dwindled with each passing bloody hour. Arminius, the mastermind, knew Roman tactics intimately. He had learned them from the Romans themselves. Now he used this knowledge against his former masters with deadly precision. He anticipated their moves, he countered their strategies, he herded them deeper and deeper into the prepared killing ground. The Roman formations completely disintegrated. Soldiers found themselves fighting in small isolated groups, desperately trying to survive. Varus, the Roman commander, seeing that all was lost, fell on his sword. He chose suicide over capture. Many of his officers followed his example. By the end of the 3rd day, it was over. 3 entire Roman legions wiped from the face of the earth. Perhaps 20,000 Roman soldiers, dead or captured. It was an annihilation. The news of this colossal disaster eventually filtered back to Rome. It arrived slowly, disbelievingly. Then the terrible truth sank in. The city was plunged into shock and mourning. Emperor Augustus, the architect of Roman peace and power, was an old man by then. He had overseen decades of Roman glory. This news devastated him. It is said he tore his clothes. He refused to cut his hair or beard for months. He would repeatedly bang his head against the wall, crying out in anguish, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions." The loss was deeply personal for him. It was a black stain on his long and illustrious reign. Fear gripped the capital. People worried that the victorious Germans might now sweep across the Rhine River. Rome immediately shifted to a defensive posture. The fear of a massive Germanic invasion was very real. Augustus dispatched his stepson and best general Tiberius to the Rhine. Tiberius's mission was to stabilize the frontier, to prevent any further incursions. The Rhine River, for all intents and purposes, became the new, permanent border of the Roman Empire in the north. Rome would, in the following years, launch several punitive expeditions into Germania. They sought revenge. They even managed to recover 2 of the 3 lost legionary eagles, a huge symbolic victory. But they never again attempted a large-scale conquest of Germania east of the Rhine. The land was deemed too hostile, too untamable. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest was far more than just a military defeat. It was a profound psychological wound for Rome. It shattered the carefully cultivated myth of Roman invincibility. It proved that Rome could be beaten, that its seemingly unstoppable legions could be utterly destroyed. This realization had a lasting impact on Roman imperial strategy. They became far more cautious about expanding further into barbarian territories, especially in northern Europe. The dream of a Roman Empire stretching to the Elbe River, once a tangible goal, died in the blood-soaked mud of that German forest. It represented a limit, a boundary Rome could not or would not cross. For the Germanic tribes, Arminius became a legend, a national hero. He had done the unthinkable. He had united disparate, often warring tribes. He had faced the might of Rome and emerged victorious. He became a powerful symbol of Germanic freedom and resistance against foreign domination. In the long run, the battle had enormous consequences. It ensured that much of northern Europe would not be Romanized, not Latinized in the way Gaul or Iberia had been. It allowed Germanic languages, cultures, and traditions to develop independently of Roman influence. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest, therefore, didn't just change Roman history, it irrevocably altered the course of European history. Its echoes resonate even today. A true, undeniable turning point.